Like, it wasn't that long ago that you were leaning on a shovel waiting for this phone call.
I honestly, that was a crazy day.
I think that's like one of the things that I remember all the time when I think about how you got here, when you're like, hey man, you called me, I was leaning on a shovel, and as soon as you called me, I just dropped the shovel.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure you were probably on your 4th espresso of the day waiting for the coffee truck to show up.
It was a lot. So after that interview, it was just one-on-one, just me and you. And you cut it short. You're like, oh, okay. I like you. We'll give you a call probably like tomorrow or something. Okay, I go home. I'm all good. I actually went to the mall right after because I had no dress clothes and I bought all new stuff. I'm like, nice.
Whoa.
That's confidence. Not even a job offer
on
at
myself.
that.
Yeah, and then I did it and then no one called. It was like a day, 2 days,
We didn't like
3
it.
days. I'm like, oh my God, man. And then I'm just down here in Richmond Hill and I'm building, we were building retaining walls for like a new subdivision. And Ali emailed me and said, oh, you got the job.
Literally the fairy
dropped
godmother.
the shovel right there, and I just hopped in my truck and just started driving home, and I never went back, ever.
Well, it was the best thing that ever happened to us, buddy. That's today's guest is he only goes by one name with me. His first name doesn't come out of my mouth.
This is Matthew.
Yeah, that name's dead to me, but it's Caruso. He's one of my how many kids I'm on?
I don't know.
Number 6.
You're
This is
son
7.
number 7,
Number 7.
adopted
Yeah.
officially. And a staple around here, I often look around to see where the cot is, where he sleeps at night, because he stays here around the clock
Yeah.
and keeps our clients happy. And it is a pleasure to have you on the show or on the podcast this episode. I'm excited for people to get to know more about you. Your name's all over our reviews. Some of them great.
Some of them
Some
not
of them
so
not.
great.
Hey, well, that's life. That's life. So we opened up with history, and that was one of the things that I remember interviewing you, and you were working for another brokerage. We
Yes,
won't mention
at the
that
time.
name at that time, but like, what was that like?
So when I first got my license and I joined that brokerage, I didn't know any difference between what it was like here or there, or if you worked at the bank. I didn't know. I just gave it a shot. And I went there, and I remember going through like a training, and again, I had no experience, but even to me, it seemed a little generic, old. Even while I was in construction, I was talking to people on a regular basis, and it didn't seem like they had the background. You know what I mean? So I stuck it out there for a couple months. I did a few deals that just took forever because there was no assistance, really. Again, there just wasn't a high volume place. And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's enough for me. Let me give it a shot at one more spot. So this was going to be my last resume that I put out. If it wasn't here, I was just done for good. That's why I was looking forward to that email. I'm like, man.
Hey, I sent the email.
Yeah, you sent the email.
Thank Ali.
Yeah.
So what made you decide that Nuborrow would be your next stop? If you had such a discouraging, I guess, first experience in the mortgage industry, what made you take a look at it a second time?
Well, similar to like even construction, all the companies more or less were providing the same service, but maybe your coworkers are different. Maybe your boss is more skilled and can give you better tools, to do things. So I said, you know what? Let me just stick it out at one more place. I'll just get a feel for the industry. If it's better, I fit in more. I'll stick around. So that was really me just giving it a shot.
How much of a factor, and I thought about this today when I knew you were going to be on the episode, your dad, Italian father, in insurance.
Yeah.
Ali's dad's in insurance. That's a grind. Like, you don't open an insurance or get a license and have clients. So your dad is a grinder. What was he like? I mean, is he on your ass?
I was never home.
to grind, right? To be
Back then, I think was a little different, right? So he was always just out, like trying to meet people and do this. So yeah, he was like always at work all the time. There's a funny story actually. There was one time where I was still doing construction, but I wanted to change fields. I think at the time I was doing drywall and I wanted to get into something else. And I told him about it. He's like, yeah, give it a shot. Just make sure you don't leave until you have something lined up. So I applied. I got the job, and I told my boss, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going a different route. I was starting the job on a Monday, and I didn't go to work on the Friday to my old job. And he just came in my room and just lost it. Just ripped the sheets off and just started freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, man, it's one day. Relax. But yeah, he was like that, always on me. My mom too.
No, bro, your work ethic is on
Yeah.
another level. You'll message me Sunday in the office at like 7 p.m. You're, hey boss, I'm doing XYZ right now. Can you do this for me? I'm like, yeah, always. Like you're always, and that has to come from your mother and your father.
Yeah. If I have something on my, like even last night, I had like 3 things I had to do. I just couldn't sleep. So I just came back in.
Yeah. I think
It was like 9 o'clock, and then Ronnie rolls in too.
I think
What are you
that
doing?
you give the president of the United States a run for his money with your work ethic.
You're not doing much.
That's a different
Hey,
podcast.
I mean, that's
pretty easy.
such a Caruso comment, but truthfully, like your work ethic is unmatched. Like when I come in here or I hear that there's a Saturday story and I'm like, huh, I'm only here Monday to Friday. What happened on a Saturday? It's definitely coming from you because you're one of the only ones here. But I guess that speaks to how many clients you touch throughout the week, your turnaround, the feedback we get from your clients, although there are some bad ones. You're doing a lot more volume than most agents out there. So
Yeah.
you're going to have
I
people
hope so.
who don't necessarily gel with your strong Italian mindset, but then there's others who really excel working with you. So, I mean, keep up the hard work, champ.
Gotta
So
try.
you joined during COVID.
Yeah.
You meet just me. I don't even think you met Ali.
No
right?
one, just you.
At that particular day.
That's why he works here.
Yeah, right. Nobody was here. I was the only one coming into the office, and I had lined up, I think, 3 interviews that day.
Yeah.
You're
Only
the
one
lone
showed?
survivor.
Yeah.
I was the only one that day?
No, but you were one of
Oh,
3.
okay,
but
okay.
Right now, you're the lone survivor, right?
Yeah,
Like
I'm the only one left from that.
That's why we changed the process about how you get a chair. We always call it a chair. How you get a chair here. That's why we keep it at 30. We keep it small. We do huge numbers.
Yeah.
That's a benefit of the person that has that chair. But I remember immediately meeting you. You had the mask on. Respect. We were 6 feet apart. I remember we still had that room was oddly set up.
It was right here. It's not
And
here
I
anymore, but
Thought to right. And I thought to myself immediately, oh, this is my guy. I hate his first name, but this is my guy.
Stop it. His mom's going to listen to this.
my mom doesn't even call
It's
me by my
Mateo.
name.
It's
She just goes, hey, you.
And I knew, I kind of thought I knew to myself, like, this is the guy. Is that when you left that interview? Well, you said you went and got close, so you must have been on board.
Yeah, I was for sure. Because like I said, at the other place, it was just...
Well, we don't train you, so you talked about antiquated training, but like that's what people often look at me when they're new and be like, "Are you ever going to train me?" Yeah, you're getting it right now.
Yeah.
You're on the floor. You're taking
Yeah.
phone calls. We'll
Yeah.
correct you as you go, and at
Yeah.
meeting times, that's where we like to do a lot of the training. I can't possibly train you, and neither can any other brokerage.
Yeah.
No.
Especially if you focus in B business, privates, lines
Yeah.
of credits. You guys sometimes look at me for like, well, what's the best product today? I don't know.
Who cares?
Because I don't know your situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to know your situation, and I'll find the best product for you. So like when you left, went and bought clothes, so you're on board, brother. Like
I was on board because I don't remember exactly what it was we were speaking about, but you gave me some kind of scenario, and I'm like, oh, okay. It makes sense. You were like talking about going deep, asking certain questions, and at the other place, it was literally, all right, you need these documents. And so I
Yeah.
was talking to people with no
Substance.
idea. Like,
why?
Yeah.
Why am I going to give you
Like,
documents
what's
on
going on,
for a
right?
5-minute phone call? I don't
So
know
Yeah.
you.
there was things that I learned here in the first week that guys at that place probably never learned, like ever.
Yeah.
So once I started just speaking the way you taught us to, or at least some of the questions to ask, I felt like I was actually doing something. rather than just getting someone like a mortgage.
Right.
Here,
Solving
it's like,
problems.
it was like value based,
Yeah, there's a purpose.
which is good.
Yeah, and I think if you go to your job 9 to 5 with no purpose, it becomes really boring and repetitive, right? So there needs to be a why, there needs to be a purpose, and mortgages aren't fun. And that's why we endlessly say on this podcast that we're not going to talk mortgage rates because that's boring.
Right? And they are the
Very
unsexiest thing on the planet.
Yeah, like who wants to talk about a freaking mortgage?
Nobody.
It's not me. That's
Me
what I
neither.
do.
Right? It's I want to know the problem. I want to
Yeah.
know why. Right? And the interview process, I often say to people, especially when they're new, you can get this license in a very short
Easy.
amount of time. I won't name the days.
Yeah.
Needs to be harder. But you can make a financial mistake for your clients that lasts forever.
Yeah.
Right? You two are newly
Yeah.
married. I don't bother asking you if you're planning
No.
on having children. Congratulations, by
Thanks.
the way.
Yes.
Thanks.
And you
Start with one.
you know, you married up, and suddenly you call me 2 years in and say, "Oh, we're having a baby. This condo doesn't work." And I'm like, "Cool.
Yeah.
How about a $30,000 penalty?" I didn't bother
Accounting
explaining
for.
to you because my brokerage said this is the best product and this
Yeah.
is the best
Yeah.
rate without doing any investigations, right? So that's a big part of what we do for sure. But tell me in as many words as you want, like what is it? What do you think it is about? You worked somewhere else. Was that
Yeah.
totally remote? Or was it in office?
It was that's a whole nother story. It was literally completely remote. So you have a new guy with no experience, and you're gonna just tell me, okay, yeah, just work from home, log in here, do this in the little like zip folder. There's a checklist of whatever you need. You gotta come in for a training, and the training was like, okay, this program will repost your Instagram photo on all your different accounts. Okay, there was a category for pictures to post. I'm like, hey, but it doesn't really seem like
I'm pretty sure I took your best headshot here.
it's my Instagram
Yeah.
profile picture.
Yeah, I wasn't letting that one
LinkedIn,
slide. I'm like, I think,
Facebook.
yeah, 100%. 100%.
Even WhatsApp, everything. You just take
Yeah.
a picture of
So
everything.
what is it? What is it about Nuborrow? What's the difference? What's the secret sauce?
So, like I said, within the first week, I noticed everything. Number one, it was like the resources. There was you, there was Uncle Mark over there, Adriano, Nick was here.
Me.
Ali.
Ali.
Come on. I'm sitting here for a
you were,
reason.
at that time you were like, you were the trainer, right? You did a
Yeah.
lot of the process and onboard training until you quit on me.
all the all the problems
saying.
were dealt with like live. So I can call a client, talk to them, see what they need. Just digging into that aspect was different because I never thought, oh, maybe these are questions I should ask. And now they're like second nature. Like, why wouldn't I ask? But no one else is asking,
100%.
like at all. I have friends in the industry. You know who you are. They're no good.
Yeah.
There
yeah.
goes some friends.
Like
Yeah,
no
we're
idea.
done. We
they
lost
just
viewers.
unfollowed Caruso, but that's all right.
3
Yeah.
followers lost. But yeah, it was pretty much just how quickly we were able to come to all solutions, all the help, and just having all the people around just to get things done. Like, right, I was never like guessing about anything. It was like, do this, okay, do that, and then come to me. Okay.
Yeah. And I think too, if you look at how many people actually require mortgages, kind of makes you sit back and think, like everyone should be receiving this form of treatment, right? It's the biggest decision of many of people's lives.
But I don't think they
first
are.
or last, and they're not. And you're walking testament to the fact that you were a part of something that didn't do that. And now when you look back, hindsight's always 20/20, but you think, how was I helping these people in any way? Or was I even helping them at all?
It was literally zero help.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
mind-blowing.
It's crazy to me. Like I wouldn't do it any other way. That's just the way we started doing it this way when we were freedom lending, trying to like show people. Because to me, some of the situations we find clients in, it doesn't make sense to do something. Right? We just
Yeah.
talked about a
Yeah.
deal this
Yeah,
morning.
yeah,
We're like, "Ah." There's a lot of things that have to happen for this to be a smart decision for the client.
Yeah.
So let's at least tell the client to do A, X and Y and Z have to happen in a year or whatever the timeline is. Can you do it? Because if
Yeah.
you can't do it, don't do this.
Yeah.
We're past the days of trying to do a mortgage to do a mortgage. So that type of impact, that fingerprint you leave on a client, and you've been here. I know you've been here for more than 2 years because we did the social media post, right?
It's 3
Right? 3.
in the
It's-
next like
next couple of days.
3 months.
Yeah, I think it was July. What did you start? July
July of
July.
2020.
Yeah, it was hot holding that shovel, wasn't it?
Yes.
So what impact or
I
that
took the shovel, by the way.
all right, that thumbprint you've left or clients' fingerprints have left on you? Like what do you remember most? What's in a story from a client that stands out?
You know what? I think the best one actually happened during the Christmas holiday. So it was actually someone who had just called into the office line. I answered the phone. They let me know they were behind a couple mortgage payments. I'm like, okay. And then they said, oh, I received a letter. And then I'm like, oh, okay. When did you get this letter? 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So there's like 8 months of payments. We're literally like 4 days away from Christmas. And the second letter they got maybe the day after I had first spoken to them. And it said that the sheriff was going to be there in the next 2 days, which would have been Christmas Eve. So then,
Thank God they don't work on Christmas Eve.
Right.
okay.
Yeah, but you don't know that when you get that letter. You're
No.
No.
The,
They went.
no way.
They went. So I got a call from the guy Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve. It was probably the day before Christmas Eve. And I was in a meeting. I didn't answer the phone. He texted me. He said, they're here kicking me out of the house.
And I
Like,
don't know
oh my
about you,
God.
but the first thing that comes to mind for me is, does this person have kids? Are they
there was
hosting Christmas
two young
dinner?
kids, and when I had got the appraisal right off the bat because I knew the urgency was it had to get done
Yeah.
right then and there. So
Yeah.
the guy went out the next day. I got everything done super quick. The house was decorated nice. There was like snowmen on the front lawn. Like you can tell they cared about the home. It was a clean house,
Yeah.
renovated, family home, right? 2 young
Yeah,
kids, 2
yeah.
adult children, and the parents. So the sheriff's there, and they're kicking him out of the house. And I get on the phone with the guy. I said, listen, I have something in place. Like, what do I have to do to... And he just wouldn't even let me speak. Just, yeah, this is not my problem. You think I want to be here? I'm like, okay, well, let's work something out.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And it didn't get anywhere from there. And then I think I actually was telling Mark the story, and he's like, oh, well, just tell him to go to the bank and just tell him, hey, you're kicking me out Christmas Eve. And the bank, they lived in like a remote area. This branch was 2.5 hours away from where they
Wow.
That's
they
crazy.
lived.
That's
So they all got in their car, drove over there, caused the scene, and then they actually let them back in the house that day.
amazing. Because that's sometimes you don't
No.
know when
Right?
those letters are coming. You don't know
Yeah.
the process, man.
It's always
No.
different. It could be
Yeah.
maybe they're on time,
Yeah.
maybe they don't come for months.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen. But in this
And-
case, it was just odd they went during that
That is
time.
really odd, but what a
But
story.
After
Yeah.
that, they got back in a couple days later, secured a mortgage, and I mean, they were there for Christmas,
Yeah. And I think
which was
That's
for
amazing.
us in particular, we know how much the industry slows down in that particular time,
That
right?
too.
Everyone is kind of sitting back. They're in this vacation mode. They're ready for the holidays. Whereas we can't really turn that off here because you get a
At
phone
all.
call like that on the 22nd of December and you are working full overtime. And I can speak to my own experiences with that.
I don't even know if anyone was here that day.
Probably
Were we
not.
still working?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like
Well-
we usually go on a much limited
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah. So it just takes
Who
the
knows?
client, it just takes the agent's, I guess, urgency or need
Mm-hmm.
to help the client that really pushes them through in this time. Because a lot of people wouldn't have picked up that hotline call. A lot of people wouldn't
Yeah.
have taken that call.
New Year's Day,
Yeah.
2 years into the company, I'm the only agent, pretty much.
Yeah.
And the phone goes off like 8 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day. Well, so you young people are not even, you're completely dead to the sound. I answer it. It's a person with 2 properties in power sale, got the letter just before, the day before, New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Total panic. Solved the entire problem. But those are the situations, those are the impact stories you remember because
Yeah.
that's a holiday. Most people wouldn't
100%.
answer that phone.
No.
At all.
And if you think about it, for me, when I'm trying to call any institution or anywhere in particular, the first thing is, oh, they're closed. I'm not going to give it a call. So you can imagine the state of mind that person's in to think, I just need to call and hope that someone picks up.
it's definitely risky, but that's where like the education aspect comes into play. So let's say I never ended up here and I was still at the other place.
You didn't know how to handle it. Yeah.
What if you get that call? There's 100 agents there
Yeah.
who wouldn't even know how to
Tackle
go
it.
about that. What do you do? And I mean, people got to be calling a whole bunch of other places too.
Oh yeah, 100%. You're calling anybody who's going to
100%.
answer that
Whoever
phone.
comes up first in your area.
Yeah.
Maybe drive by a place every day.
It's
There's
true.
like hundreds of people who have no idea.
It's true. And you touched on a good point too, is the team element. Adriana let me know to do this, right? And I think that may have been the first time you'd ever had to deal with a situation like that. Some agents
100%.
have been in the industry for 10 years and haven't. And that's why this job is unique. And that's why having the team that we do is important, because hopefully within the 30 agents here, we've built up enough that there is someone that has the experience that say, hey, listen, this is what I did. And we can instill that and kind of portray that throughout the whole brokerage, as well as being able to help a client. So as much as to our clients, they're just working with Matthew or they're just working with Al,
Yeah.
in reality, they're working
it's
with our
all
team.
of us.
Yeah. Right?
That's why when we
crazy.
get a good review,
yeah.
it's a team effort, even though they might name the agent.
Yeah,
you get a
yeah.
bad review, what people don't see is everybody.
Is impacted by it.
You've got, who will be on these episodes later, you've got Jasmine who juggles all of them and brings
Yeah.
it to the agent, brings it to me if I don't bring it to her first.
100%.
Because we care about that. So within that light, we had a lot of challenges, right? With post COVID and the market, the impending doom of the market and it's shrinking and meeting client expectations.
Yeah.
That was, and I know you had a couple of those deals that were really hard on you,
Yeah.
right? Like power of sale.
There was
Lenders committing and not coming through, and it's you. It falls on you every single time. It's
100%.
you who couldn't get it done. It has the clients don't understand or wouldn't, and then no, they shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
Or no, they shouldn't. It's that process. You're always the person.
You're
in the
always
middle.
in the middle. That's like one of the
Yeah.
issues too, right? So even if a client will be like, "Oh, I did the appraisal like 4 days ago," I said, "I get it, but I'm not making the report.
Yeah.
I just
right? You
Just
can't.
delegate
if I
it,
could
yeah.
do it, I would do it right now." But it's like, I think I spoke to you maybe about this during the Christmas holidays. I feel like no matter how much you work or you do this, you do that, you go above and beyond, you're still always waiting for everyone else too. So that's another like
100%.
huge problem.
And that plays into our clients trusting us, right? Like we take those calls probably the majority of the day of someone not doing their job properly, right? So it does fall on us in a sense, but we can provide our clients that reassurance of, hey, listen, I understand it's frustrating. I get it. The appraiser's also super swamped. Here's what's going on.
100%.
I will provide you that update once it's received. And for them to say, okay, I trust you, Matt, because I've heard it. I've heard it myself. I trust you, Matt. My trust is with you, Matt. I understand. Okay, thank you. It actually helped me that I talked to you. I was worried sick at work. Those are all things that kind of play into what we do here and why you are important to our clients, right? So them giving the call and us being able to give them that reassurance. Christmas Eve, you saying, hey, get in that car, 2.5 hour drive. I think they may be able to help
Giving
you.
credit to Mark for that.
Yeah, but it was all you.
still.
But he's probably been through that too, right? He's been doing mortgages
Yeah.
for what, like 95 years?
It's got to be
Yeah.
probably a hundo.
Yeah, he's probably at 100. But being able to say, hey, listen, pack all your kids up, get in the car and drive 2.5 hours for that slight glimmer of hope just goes to show
got
the
it.
impact you made
For sure.
on that particular client.
But again, just goes to show that it's not just me.
No, there's so many moving
Literally
parts.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just be walking by mad about something. Someone will be like, do this. No problem.
Yeah.
Done.
That's why I get so on top of you right away
Yeah.
when I get a bad feedback and internal feedback, and I'm
Yeah.
like, hey,
Why wasn't
Caruso,
this stopped at the pass?
Yeah, what
this
happened?
reflects on me. What happened? And then we
Yeah.
find out what happened and try and figure it out.
Yeah.
What's next for you? I want to touch base on you got a milestone coming up, right? You did a pre-con
Yes.
condo. That's exciting.
That's the only thing in the works. Maybe another year and a bit left. And I'll see if I can get my own mortgage.
And then he has to ask permission to his mom to move out.
Is that how that works?
Italian parents don't want you to leave the house.
Oh, okay.
Unless you're married.
All right. Well,
And
yeah.
you know how that's going to go.
I don't
All
know if it's
right.
gonna
Well,
go.
another great episode. I usually end these by letting the people on my team know how much they matter to me and to the team. And I feel like we hired this kid in a sense, and we don't mean
Yeah.
that in a disrespectful way, but when you got here, you absorbed everything. And one of the things that you brought to my attention that I didn't even really consider with all the stuff I juggle every day, when someone was on the floor saying, you know, I'm struggling to do this and this, and you piped up and said, and I'll imitate, bro, 5 deals a month fall on your lap here. You just have to talk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have carried that. I carry that into interviews today when I go and talk to people in the industry,
Yeah.
and they say, oh, what's different? And I'm like, you just have to want to talk to people. I got a guy on my floor right now who came with very little experience, does amazing, and simply says to people over and over again, oh, just pick up the phone and call people.
Yeah. It's kind of like
Talk
picking
to
up the shovel. So that's why he's so good at it,
Thing,
right?
The hole's not gonna get any bigger.
Yeah.
Right?
Unless you do something
Hard
about it.
worker. Yeah, work hard. You lead quietly, which I really like. And people, you'll help anybody who asks, but you don't. You and Ian are like these two guys in the opposite corners of the room. Just keep working.
Yeah.
Just keep working. People ask questions, you answer them.
Then you move on.
And
I
that's
love that
yeah.
you're helpful. You care about this place. I love ribbing you at 2:00 because I can
Fall for it every
you
every
are the most
time.
gullible guy. I tell you you're not doing something. You're like, what? I'm doing it.
So
But
true.
that's my favorite,
Oh,
and
man.
I'm looking for 3, 4, 5 years, as long
Easily.
as you want to be here. You got a spot
As
here.
long as you're here.
All right. Well, let's hope
Or
that's
if you
a
go,
long
I
time.
go.
All right. All right. Well, we've been talking to Blank Caruso, my seventh son,
Matthew Caruso.
and I want to thank you for today. I really appreciate it, and stopping by.
Anytime.
And that Al, that puts another episode in the books.
Yes. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining
Done.
us.
All right. Till
Till
next
next
time.
week.
Okay.
later.
See ya.